When Henry was just a kid, his dad worked the railway. He wasn't driving trains or anything fancy. He was a track walker for the CB&Q. And honestly, he was real proud of it. Every night, after a few drinks, he'd belt out that song. "This train is bound for hell." Henry never knew the words, but he remembered how his dad sang it. Then one afternoon, drunk earlier than usual, his dad got crushed between two tankers. The union paid for the funeral, but nobody sang his song. That tune stuck in Henry's head, though, even after his life fell apart. His mom ran off with the salesman. Dad probably rolled in his grave, seeing as the guy was just a regular passenger. Henry ended up in an orphanage, humming that melody every night. When he ran away to live on the streets, he whistled it while the other drifters slept. It took 5 years of wandering before he realized he wasn't going anywhere. He took whatever work he could get. Picking fruit, washing dishes, changing tires. After 6 months on a chain gang in Alabama, he knew that life was a dead end. Time to stop floating, he told himself. He tried to get a job on the railroad, but they turned him down. Set times were tough. Still, Henry couldn't stay away from the tracks. He'd rather hop a freezing freight train north than hitch a comfortable ride to a sunny beach. Sitting under bridges with a beer, he'd hum that song about the hell train. He pictured the passengers, gamblers, crooks, and womanizers going straight down. Honestly, they sounded like good company. He didn't love the idea of the final stop, of course. Shoveling coal for eternity didn't sound fun, especially without a union. But it still sounded like an adventure. He didn't believe such a train existed. At least not until that one night. He was walking the ties south of the junction. It was pitch black and freezing, typical November. Henry was hoping to make New Orleans or Texas before the snow hit. Not to commit crimes or anything, that didn't pay enough to be worth the trouble. He just wanted to survive. So he was walking the tracks, humming his dad's song, waiting for a train from the junction. Suddenly, a roar came from the other direction. From the south. Henry stared down the track. He couldn't see anything, but he heard it. Just pure noise. Wait, it was a train. The ground shook under his boots. It was loud as a bell. But that was impossible. The schedule said nothing was coming out of Nina Menasha. Heavy clouds covered the sky, and a thick bone-chilling fog swirled around. Here's the thing though, if a train is coming at you, you see a headlight, right? But there was nothing. No light. Just a whistle that sounded less like a machine and more like a lost soul screaming. Henry stepped back. That invisible train sounded close. Then he saw it. A blurry shape in the dark. It was much closer than he thought. The brakes screeched like they hadn't been oiled in 100 years. Finally it stopped. The clanking died down, leaving just the heavy breathing of the engine. Henry looked up. It was a passenger train. Big, black, and completely dark. No lights in the cab. He squinted, but he couldn't make out a single name or number on the side. One thing was for sure. This wasn't a Northwestern train. A man stepped off the lead car, and something was definitely wrong with him. He walked funny, like he had a bad limp. He held a dark, dead lantern. He just blew on it and poof, it glowed red behind the glass. You don't need a union card to know lanterns don't work like that. As he got closer, Henry saw a conductor's cap, but it sat way too high on his head. Like something sharp was underneath, pushing it up. Henry was polite, though. He smiled and said, "Evening, Mr. Conductor." "Evening, Henry. How do you know my name?" The man just shrugged. "How did you know I'm a conductor? Am I wrong?" "Nope. But I look different to other folks. You should see how I dress for those Hollywood big shots." He grinned. "I travel a lot. What brings you here?" Henry asked. "You, Henry. I felt you wavering. Thinking about joining the Salvation Army." "Huh. Maybe," Henry admitted. "Don't be shy. People make mistakes. Point is, I knew you needed me, so I switched tracks." "Why?" "To offer you a lift, of course. Isn't a warm train better than marching in the cold mud?" The conductor chuckled. "Honestly, I don't want a ride," Henry said. "Considering where you're going." "Ah, right. the conductor sighed. You want a deal? I guess. Business is booming, Henry. I don't usually do special favors, but I have a flaw of pride. I always figured you belonged to me. I'd hate to lose you now. He paused. So here's the offer. I grant you any wish. In return, you promise to board the train when the time comes. And if the time never comes? It will. Can I wish for you to disappear? Henry asked suddenly. Impossible, the conductor snapped. And don't try any tricks. No prayers, no surprise lawyers. This is a fair trade. You get yours, I get mine. People say you're a cheat, Henry said. Better at lying than a used car salesman. So, the conductor shrugged. You think you can outsmart me? Yes, sir. 100%. The conductor laughed, then got serious. All right. Let's hear it. Henry took a deep breath. I want to stop time. Right now. No. Later. I want the power to stop time for myself personally. When I'm completely happy and have everything I want to freeze that moment. Forever. Wow. The conductor looked impressed. I've heard it all, Henry, but that's a new one. He eyed him closely. You've been planning this, haven't you? For years, Henry admitted. So, do we have a deal? You want me to freeze how you feel time? No, Henry said. I mean literally stop time for me. I don't know how you'll do it, though. I get the idea. I can manage that. So we have a deal? Sure. I gave my word. Shake on it. Henry hesitated. Will it hurt? I hate blood. Nonsense. The conductor waved him off. We already made the deal, son. I just need to give you the device so you can grant your own wish. I can't drop everything and chase you around for eternity. You decide when it happens. You're giving me something to stop time? Exactly. Just need to pick the right tool. The conductor thought for a moment. Ah, perfect. Take my watch. He pulled a silver railway watch from his vest, popped the back, and started fiddling with the gears. Henry tried to peek, but the conductor's fingers moved too fast. Done, he smiled, snapping it shut. Listen close. When you're ready, wind the stem backward. Unwind the spring until it stops. Then time stops for you. Got it. He dropped the watch into Henry's hand. Henry squeezed the cool metal. That's it. Yup. But remember, you can only stop it once. Make sure you're absolutely happy. Don't waste it, son. I'll try, Henry grinned. Since you were honest, I'll be honest too. You missed something, sir. It doesn't matter what moment I pick. If I stop time for myself, I stay in that moment forever. I never age. If I never age, I never die. And if I never die, I never get on your train. The conductor spun around. His shoulders shook like he was crying. And you said I was worse than a used car salesman? He choked out. Without another word, he stumbled back into the steam. The engine gave an impatient blast, and the train rumbled off into the night. Henry stood there staring at the watch. Look, if he wasn't holding that watch, feeling its weight, smelling that weird scent, he would have thought he dreamt the whole thing. The black train, the conductor, the crazy deal. But the watch was real. And the smell? Locomotives don't usually run on pure sulfur. Henry had no doubts. This happened. He figured he won big. Fools would have asked for money, power, or a night with a movie star. His dad would have traded his soul for a bottomless whiskey bottle. But Henry outsmarted them all. He just had to pick the right moment. He pocketed the watch and walked back toward town. Before, he was just drifting. Now he had a goal. He was hunting for happiness. Young Henry was sharp. He knew happiness was relative. Changed as you got older. On the road, bliss was a good handout, a comfy park bench, or a bottle of cheap Thunderbird wine. He'd felt great in those moments. But he guessed there was something better out there. And he was going to find it. A few days later, he hit Chicago. Naturally, he ended up on West Madison Street. That's where he started his climb up the social ladder. He became a city bum. A little stealing, a little begging. Within a week, he had it made. Meat every morning, Muscat wine by evening, and a real army caught in a flophouse for 25 cents. He was incredibly satisfied. One night, full and buzzing from the wine, Henry seriously considered stopping the watch right there. But then he remembered the faces of the suckers he used to beg from. Sure, they looked like squares, but they had money. They had nice suits, steady jobs, and shiny cars. Henry figured their happiness must taste different. Steak dinners, soft mattresses, whiskey and soda. Maybe those folks were on to something. He fought the urge to trade the watch for another bottle of wine and tucked it away instead. He woke up with a splitting headache, but he had a plan. He was going to get a job and level up his happiness. A month later, he was busting his back on a construction site down south. He hated the work, but he loved the paycheck. Soon enough, he rented a studio apartment on Blue Island Avenue. Life was good. Real food, a comfortable bed, and drinks on Saturdays. The foreman liked his hustle and promised him a raise. 6 months of that meant he could buy a used car. And a car meant he could pick up girls. Other guys on the site did it, and they looked happy enough. So Henry got to work. He got the raise, bought the car, and found a couple of cute girlfriends. He almost stopped time right then. But the older guys on the site gave him advice. They said, "Henry, you need to find one nice, steady girl to settle down with." He figured he should try that too. If he didn't like it, he could always go back. Took about 6 months to meet Lillian Gillis. By then, he'd been promoted to an office job and was studying accounting at night. The new gig paid an extra $50 a week. Plus, it was warm inside. And Lillian? She was a doll. When she agreed to marry him, Henry was ready to hit the brakes on time right there. But Lillian had rules. She said they had to wait for the wedding. And you can't have a wedding without money. They couldn't start broke. So, Henry worked for another promotion. Took a whole year. Henry was patient. He knew the prize was worth it. Whenever he had doubts, he'd look at that watch. He never showed anyone, though. Even Lillian didn't know about it. Everyone else wore fancy wristwatches, and his old silver railway piece looked cheap and old-fashioned. Henry just smiled and rubbed the winding stem. A few turns, and he'd have what all those poor guys in the mud only dreamed of. Eternal bliss with his bride. But the wedding was just the start. It was great, sure. But Lillian said real happiness meant a new apartment, nice furniture, and a TV. Henry wanted the good life, too. So, he went back to night school and got transferred to the head office. Then they waited for the baby. When his son was born, Henry decided to wait until the kid grew up a bit. Until he could walk and talk and be a real person. Around that time, the company made Henry the head of the road emergency service. Now he was the rich guy dining in hotels and tossing coins to beggars. Life was pretty good. His fingers itched to stop the watch many times. But he thought, wouldn't it be perfect if I didn't have to work? He wanted to make executive, retire, and relax. Then it would be perfect. Took years. His son was in school by the time Henry had the cash piled up. He told himself, it's now or never, because his youth was slipping away. Then he met Sherry Westcott. She didn't care about his thinning hair or his belly. She taught him how to fix himself up and a few other things too. He was having such a blast he actually pulled the watch out, ready to freeze time. That's exactly when the private detectives kicked the door in. Lillian had hired them. The next 6 months were a messy divorce. Believe me, there was no moment there worth keeping forever. Once he paid Lillian off, he got another kick in the teeth. Sherry decided he wasn't so cute anymore. Henry didn't cry about it. He just went back to work. He made a fortune, but business ate up his whole life. There was no time for fun. Fancy women and expensive booze just didn't interest him anymore. The doctor told him to quit drinking. But rich folks have other hobbies like travel. No more freight trains for Henry. He flew on jets and sailed on luxury liners. One night he stood in front of the Taj Mahal. The moonlight hit those white domes and it was breathtaking. Henry pulled out the battered old watch. He almost stopped time right there. But he didn't. He was all alone. Lillian was gone, his son was gone, and Sherry had vanished. He realized he'd never made time for friends. Maybe that was the real secret. Not money or views, but friendship. On the cruise home, he tried to mingle in the bar. But everyone was young and wanted to dance. Henry couldn't keep up. Maybe he pushed too hard. Just outside of San Francisco, he had a little spell. The ship's doctor said he was fine, but the guy looked terrified. He sent Henry straight to the hospital the second they docked. Henry wasn't stupid. He knew the end was coming. But he had a plan. He put on his suit and snuck out. He wasn't going to die in a hospital bed. He was going to cheat death as a free man. That was the best feeling in the world, freedom. No friends, no family, no needs. Walking the waterfront under the night sky. He felt like he was back where he started. It was a good moment. Good enough for eternity. Then pain ripped through his chest. The world spun and Henry hit the pavement. Another heart attack. A big one. He knew this was it. He reached for the silver watch. He could live forever. He just had to turn the stem. Live forever, he thought. But live forever like this? An old man dying on the sidewalk in agony? No. He wanted to cry. He had outsmarted himself. It was too late. The darkness closed in. Then he heard the whistle. The train came roaring out of the fog. Right there on the waterfront. It stopped and the conductor stepped down. Same old guy, same smile. "Hello, Henry," he said. "Time to board." "I know," Henry whispered. "But you'll have to carry me. I can't walk." "Sure you can," the conductor smiled. He touched Henry's chest. It felt cold as ice. Suddenly Henry could stand. He walked toward the tracks. "This car." "No, the next one," the conductor said. "You get a soft seat. You had a happy life. You were rich, respected, and saw the world. Don't complain now." "Fair enough," Henry sighed. "But I did it all myself. I never needed your watch." "Then give it back," the conductor said. "So you can trick the next fool?" "Maybe." Henry couldn't see the man's eyes under his cap. "Be honest," Henry said. "If I give it back, what will you do with it?" "Throw it in a ditch," the conductor shrugged. "What else would I do?" He held out his hand. "But what if someone finds it? What if they turn it backward and stop time?" "Nobody does that," the conductor mumbled. "Even if they figure it out." "Wait," Henry asked. "Are you saying it was a bluff? Is it just a regular watch?" "I didn't say that," the conductor replied. "I just said nobody ever turns it back." "Not one person," the conductor said. "They were all like you. Always waiting for a better moment that never comes." He held out his hand. Henry sighed and shook it. "You tricked me." "No, Henry. You tricked yourself." He nudged Henry up the stairs. "Time to go." The train screamed into motion. Henry looked around the swaying car. The passengers, gamblers, crooks, and drifters seemed fine. They knew they were headed to hell, but nobody was crying. The lights were bright. They were singing, drinking, and rolling dice. "Nice crowd," Henry said. "They look happy." The conductor shrugged. "Sure. But the party ends when we hit the station."